You're good.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us on this continuous day of informative interviews with folks who are doing the work in the community and are committed to the success and the viability of elections. My name is Ashley Session, and I serve as the Senior Director of External Affairs and Strategic Initiatives here at the Committee of 70. And today we are joined by Diane, who is with Women's Way, and I'm going to give Diane a chance to introduce herself.
Hi, thank you so much for reminding me. I'm Diane Cornman Levy, the Chief Disruptor at Women's Way, and we're the leading nonprofit agency dedicated to the advancement of women and girls and gender expansive individuals, and with the goal to achieve gender equity for all women and gender expansive individuals. And we've been around for about 45 years fighting the fight. And unfortunately, we are still in need of existence because we have not reached the equity goals that we are striving to achieve.
Thank you for that. And can you talk about what you all at Women's Way do on a day-to-day? So like, what does a day look like or a week in terms of advocacy and just any work and the functions of Women's Way?
Yeah. We have kind of three key functions. One is we actually do grant making. So we have grant making programs that support organizations that primarily serve women and girls and gender expansive individuals. And one of our grant making programs is the Immediate Response Action Fund. And we actually make decisions within 10 business days to address urgent and unanticipated needs of organizations serving women and girls and gender expansive individuals. We've been doing this since 2017, long before the pandemic, when many foundations decided to do rapid response funding. So we really address a critical gap of addressing these needs very quickly. We also do a lot, and this is a huge part of what we do, is addressing the gender and racial wealth gap in our region. And we do that through the Gender Wealth Institute, whose goal is to close the gender wealth gap by advancing research and practical solutions that build wealth for women, their families, and gender expansive individuals. Within the context of the Gender Wealth Index, we do a lot of educating folks about what are the causes of the gender wealth gap in our region, in terms of systemic and historical causes, and what action steps people can take, whether you're a policymaker, practitioner, a funder, or a citizen. So we do a lot of educating people so they can start really mobilizing people to take action. We do a lot of educating and supporting advocacy groups so we can help build the capacity of people to advocate on behalf of women. We also do a lot around financial coaching, improving the financial health of women and girls in the region, because we know that many women and girls do not have access to financial education, and that's a barrier for building wealth. We also are doing a lot around research. So we're conducting a research project to identify the drivers of the gender wealth gap in our region, because we have very little data on that, particularly at the intersection of different social identities, at the intersection of race, gender, sexual orientation, ability, nationality, all those things. And if we don't have good understanding of what drives it, it's a hard thing to be able to resolve it and address it. So our goal is, through this research, we're going to come up with data and results, and then convene. That's another big role we do. We convene. We have over 120 partners where we come together and really learn from each other to try to understand what are the drivers of the gender wealth gap, what can we do, what are some models that are really effectively addressing it. But we're going to come together with the results of the study and have a series of conversations with our stakeholders and help come up with key strategies to implement. And this will become part of a feminist economic agenda that we are going to put together and share it with our new mayor, whoever that is.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That was very comprehensive. So talking about the election, thank you for mentioning our new mayor, whoever that is. What are the stakes of this election for women and girls in Philadelphia, and not just Philadelphia, but I believe across the Commonwealth, since we are electing judges as well?
Yeah, critical. I think we knew this before the pandemic, but the pandemic highlighted how economically precarious women, particularly women of color, are, not just in our region, but across the entire country. We know that the poorest people in our city, in our state, in the country are women, and particularly women of color. And if women are poor, children are poor. So a lot of the policies that have been implemented are just not working. They are not grounded in really addressing systems that are have been grounded in exploitation or oppression of certain groups, particularly women of color, because of the intersection of gender and race. And so we need a mayor that will really, when I talk about a feminist mayor, I'm not just talking about a woman mayor. And I'm going to say there's a difference, because you can have a woman be a leader, but then still uphold systems grounded in paternalism, patriarchy, racism, right? We are not a monolithic group at all. So when we talk about a feminist mayor, we want one that truly understands the root causes of gender and racial inequities and have the vision and courage to really address those inequities by bringing people across different sectors and engaging in these conversations and building strategies that really address these issues. And really important, we need a mayor that centers the voices of those most exploited by oppression and exploitation. And those are women of color, and they need to be at the table co-creating strategies. So we need to have a mayor who's really going to listen and work with those most exploited and engage them and include them at the table and engage them in these conversations and co-create strategies that are really going to create lasting change and transformational change in our city. It hasn't been working. We're still the poorest city of the 10 largest cities in our country, right? We have thousands of nonprofit agencies, but it's not working, right? And I think having a different type of leader, and I'm going to say being a woman is also very important, because we have different priorities many times, especially if we're caretakers. Because we're caregivers, like the care infrastructure is a shamble, and it's really hurting women in terms of their ability to stay in the workforce. It's one of the highest costs for women in this region. And so we need a viable and really strong care infrastructure. And I'm going to say this, women, particularly women who have children, better understand that. That's going to be a different priority. So this election is critical for the future of this city. And if we don't uplift those at the bottom of the economic pyramid, we will never have a thriving city or any city in this country.
Thank you for that. And so you mentioned a little bit that not all females or are created equal in terms of their impact. And so I guess my question would be, what would be the impact if Philadelphians were to elect a female mayor today?
Well, again, it depends on the female. Now I know we have 3 female candidates, and I think they're all strong and they're different. But what I'm saying again is feminism is more than just some consciousness, right? It's a commitment to choice and action that critiques and dismantles all power structures that shape the experiences of gender oppression. So this mayor needs to really look at what are the root causes of inequities in our city at the intersection of multiple social identities. You can't just look at it from a gender lens, and you can't just look at it from a race lens. You need to look at it from racial, gender, economic, disability, nationality, and all that. So they had to have an intersectional framework to do this. I think that the mayor has to be ready to redress and repair harm and redistribute power. And what I mean by that is, again, we can't have this top-down thing where people who are most impacted by these injustices, who are barely surviving in the city, and a lot of them are women and families, need to be at the table, heard. They need to be heard, seen, and valued. And they need to be actors, not just recipients of services. They need to actually shape and work hand in hand with city council and the mayor. So the mayor has to have some humility and vulnerability and listen. That's critical.
Thank you for that. You're freezing a little bit, Diane.
Sorry. Sorry
No,
about
fine.
that.
There you go. Okay. So next question.
Yes.
What power does a mayor actually have to protect the reproductive rights at the municipal level?
I think the mayor has a fair amount of power to protect reproductive rights, because I think it's about advocacy and mobilizing people, right? And I think when you're talking about reproductive justice and rights, which is obviously under attack, there's a lot of predominant narratives that are happening, and these narratives shape the mental models of decision makers and voters. And I think the mayor needs to elevate his voice, and others, and really start changing how we talk about this issue and mobilize people to really take action. Because the only way to really keep moving forward is organizing people, and really getting people to understand the issues and having this collective voice, which creates more collective power. So as a mayor, he or she has the power to mobilize, to build coalitions, to get people to work together, to really create an agenda for what would look like a better agenda in terms of reproductive justice and freedom. But that again is a skill of mobilizing, convening people, mobilizing them, and also mobilizing resources to support those who are, really working towards reproductive justice. So again, a mayor has the power of his or her own voice, his or her networks, his or her power to convene, right? So there's a lot of power that the mayor can leverage.
Thank you for that. And then my final question is, how can we encourage women and girls and those who identify as females to run for political office and engage politically in the city?
Great question. I ran for office in Delaware County in 2016, and finally a woman won in my district for state rep in 2020. But okay, how can we encourage them? One, we need to create pipelines for girls. So let's start younger and start really engaging them in changing how we teach them about history and civic engagement. So I think they need to understand their own power and how important their voices are, right? So this should be integrated throughout our whole school system, because a lot of times girls don't think their voices matter, that their vote doesn't matter when they get older, that the political system is somehow separate from them. They need to understand how policies affect them day to day and how their voices can change and influence policy. And I've seen that happen in a very positive way. Two, so that's part of the pipeline. Two, for women that want to run for office, we need to have more networks to support women. And so I was thrown in the fire when I was asked to run. No, I got very little support, and I had no idea what I was doing. So we need to have those who have already run or are in the political system mentor women who want to run and create a support network for women. We also are caregivers, right? And so we're always juggling multiple hats. But if we have a support system that helps women who have children and other caregiving responsibilities, they're more likely to say yes. There's a truth here. It takes 10 times for a woman to be asked to say yes to run. It takes a man 2 times to be asked. 3, we need to elect more women in all levels of government, right? Because the more you see women that look like you, the more you're going to feel like I can do this, right? And also then once you are elected and you win, you have some peers around you. And finally, let's change the narrative. Like the narrative, these narratives like women are too emotional, they're less capable, they can't do this because they're caregivers. We need to change the narratives about we are capable, we can do this, right? And I think more women that have run for office and are in office should be speaking up on behalf of other women to run. And the last thing I'm going to say is, particularly for women of color, because of 400 years of wealth extraction, a lot of women of color don't have money. And the first thing they ask you when they run is, can you raise $50,000, Diane, in the next 2 months? Can you quit your job and put more money into it? We need to have some kind of system where more women are going to invest in women races. So women need to not just vote, they need to put their money where their mouth is and support women who are running, particularly women of color who don't have access to as much wealth because of slavery and racism over 400 years. And so I'm always telling young women, not just vote. If you care about more women being in office and you care about your rights, put your money where your mouth is.
Thank you so much for that answer, Diane. I agree wholeheartedly with you. And again, and ignore my dog who hates the mail person. But again, we thank you at the Committee of 70 for the work that you are doing, and we promise to remain engaged. We ask that you send us any resources so that we can share them with our folks, and this will be posted. It's on live on our Facebook page right now, but we'll make sure that it lives there, and please feel free to share it with your network.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and you do great work, and ditto to you. We're here to support the work that you do as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you and happy voting.
Yes, you too. Bye-bye.